Ever since Amber Rose came out as MAGA, she's had really weird takes about the black community. Like when she, as a non-black person, advocated for white people and everybody else to be able to say the N-word.
I mean, if he
White people should be able to say
so,
and I'm
really?
gonna tell you why.
Oh, shit.
Because no one, when you really stop giving a fuck about stupid, dumbass words, will stop killing each other.
But her most recent airhead, out of touch take.
Yeah, and I never tell my kids they have to work 10 times harder because they're black.
Yeah.
As if race and discrimination doesn't matter in America and we're all on the level playing field.
She received a message from someone saying she wasn't being hired because she wasn't corporate enough, which she rightfully interpreted as racial microaggressions.
Trump's policies took effect. Employment for black men fell by about 562,000 jobs.
But I'm Jew. Welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into it.
Yeah, and I never tell my kids they have to work 10 times harder because they're black.
Yeah.
You have to work just as hard as everyone else, and if you want to be...
Did you peep how she said that 10 times harder part with so much disdain? I really hate when people speak about things that impact the black community and are very judgmental about it without having the lived experience to even justify their stance. Again, Amber Rose is not black. If you didn't know, Amber Rose is mixed. Irish, Italian, and Cape Verde. This is literally her parents. And the reason she's even known in black culture is because of the men she's had relationships with. Kanye, 21 Savage, Wiz Khalifa. But on a deeper level, the reason she even feels comfortable saying ridiculous things like this is because she's around weak black men like Nick Cannon, which give her a pass to do so. The reason that black people raise their kids with the mentality that they have to be smarter, faster, jump higher, be the best of the best of the best.
Boy, Captain America over here. The best of the best of the best, sir.
At anything that they do is because unless they were that in whatever field that they pursued in life, they still might get passed over for an unqualified white person. Why? Because of racial bias and systematic discrimination, which has always impacted the black community.
I found out that once he passed on hiring a highly qualified associate, just an associate, no disrespect to associates, but an associate at a VC, entry level. Because, and I'm not making this up, the guy, quote unquote, walked too slowly. That was the reason that this guy did not hire this guy to join the fund. The candidate was black. This guy was black.
But somebody like Amber Rose, who is from Philly, but I don't care where she grew up. If she's not black, she wouldn't have a black experience in this country. Who I doubt ever filled out a real job application, didn't work in corporate America, has no experience to even understand what the whole process is like to get a job. And how just having a black name often disqualifies black people from even being considered for a job that they're overqualified for most times. Back when affirmative action was still a thing, discrimination was still going on, but it had to be a lot more covert than what it is right now. Black people have always known that it's harder to get jobs with a more unique black name. And that's because it allowed companies to target and weed black people out without even having to review their resume. White-sounding names get called back for jobs more than black ones, a new study finds. The Watershed study found that applicants with names suggesting they were white got 50% more callbacks from employers than those whose names indicated they were black.
She had been posting about her unemployment journey on LinkedIn. She received a message from someone saying she wasn't being hired because she wasn't corporate enough, which she rightfully interpreted as racial microaggressions. To test whether or not her hypothesis was accurate or not, she went on to LinkedIn and created a fake profile with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman named Emily Osborne, and Emily had the exact same resume with the exact same experiences that Aaliyah had. For about 8 months, she applied using both profiles to almost every single job. And the results were exactly as we thought. Emily reportedly got over 57% more callbacks and interviews than Aaliyah, who only got less than 9%. There's also the fact that Emily wasn't tasked with additional hoops to jump through that Aaliyah was. In fact, Emily was even told on a few occasions that due to her excellent resume, she wouldn't need to do the additional tasks that they require. But Aaliyah never got told that.
Which is funny, right? Because for a black person, discrimination doesn't stop there. You'll usually have at least 1 or 2 interviews to make the final cut to get referred for a job. And at that point, once an employer speaks with you, can hear that you're black, or meets you in person, if they want to be discriminatory, they can easily just say you don't qualify for the job or you don't have the work experience that they're looking for. And oftentimes they'll hire a white, lesser qualified applicant.
You have to work just as hard as everyone else, and if you want to be better, You know, like let's say the NBA for an example. If you want to be like a real all-star, yeah, you got to work harder.
Yeah.
But you have to work just as hard as everybody else. Your skin color in America is not finna stop you from being great. I ain't trying to hear none of that shit.
Says somebody who's white passing and her skin color has never negatively impacted her.
We live in a free country. You can be whoever the fuck you want to be. So, yeah, I don't know. That's just me personally. That's just how I feel. I don't feel like you or me have any more privilege than anybody else just because we're light-skinned or we're mixed. If anything, sometimes we have it harder.
That's insane. For somebody who's biracial or not black at all to act like colorism and discrimination based on race and skin tone doesn't exist. It's frustrating to me that the black person whose show it is, Paul Pierce, had nothing to say, didn't push back at all on any of this. When what she said is 100% cap, and we see it every day with black unemployment and this crazy job market. The reason that policies and programs like affirmative action and DEI was even a thing in the first place was to try to level the playing field and eliminate discrimination when it came to employment and education, meaning that schools and places of employment couldn't just reject you for being black, which they definitely did back in the day. And even with programs like affirmative action in place, discrimination still ran rampant in the hiring and promoting process in most companies. And that's before we even get to the Trump administration's very clear and direct attack on black progress and black employment in America. Out the gate with this administration, we saw a deliberate attack on affirmative action, DEI, or anything diversity related. The attack on diversity, the attack on anybody other than white men has just been insane. And because this is an administration full of white supremacists and racists, they haven't even hit it at all.
We don't treat anybody different because of their race or their sex. So we have relegated DEI to the dustbin of history, which is exactly where it belongs.
Right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles C.Q. Brown. We get the firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwynne Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board.
This administration, the Supreme Court with it, has destroyed 60 years of progress. And they want to frame it as if they're fighting for equality of all people, when in fact, all of those provisions were put in place to protect people of color, to give them a fair chance at opportunities, at jobs, at education. Because white institutions discriminated against black people, just like we're seeing right now in modern day, where black people are being fired, not for being uneducated, not for being unqualified, but just for being black.
And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and on and on and on.
And that initial Doge run is how we get to a place where almost 300,000 black federal employees were fired, with the huge majority of that being black women, adding to the growing unemployment rate and limited job opportunities for black people as a whole, especially black men. A snapshot of black employment trends under Trump 2.0. Black workers, particularly men, are experiencing lower employment compared with a year ago. Black unemployment rose and employment fell in Q1 2026, reflecting a deterioration in labor market conditions. In Q1 of 2026, the black unemployment rate, 7.6, was up 1.2 percentage points, higher than the first 3 months of the second Trump administration. So it's hilarious to me that somebody like Amber Rose is really under the belief that race doesn't exist and it doesn't impact black people. In the District of Columbia, white people with college degrees have an employment advantage over similar black people. That means even if they have the same degree, guess who's getting hired? White people.
Trump's policies took effect, such that by December 2025, employment for black men began to decline. Employment for black men fell by about 562,000 jobs. That means more than 500,000 black men lost their jobs in only a few months. And overall, during 2025, black men experienced a net loss of roughly 370,000 jobs.
And unlike Amber Rose, I've seen a lot of discrimination or racial hiring and promoting practices in my own career. I've seen tons of overqualified, highly experienced black people get passed up for promotions for somebody that was less qualified but white. And then the black person has to train that white person that's now their boss 9 times out of 10. She is a multiracial that has essentially been a culture vulture to black Americans. She has zero say in how we can and should conduct ourselves. Very true, and I find it so interesting that she didn't become anti-black until she had that whole MAGA epiphany. And now all of a sudden she's using anti-DEI talking points. And the Joe Budden podcast weighed in on this too.
And so because she did date rich men that were multimillionaires early on in life, she might have never had to face some of the adversity that a lot of people have to, especially in a corporate setting. You understand what I'm saying? And so a lot of black women in corporate America are having to bust their ass 10 times more than their counterparts. So she can't make that claim because she's never had to experience that.
If she's saying that you don't have to run faster or jump higher,
She's wrong.
and I'm saying that's the part that's dangerously
I said
close.
she's wrong.
Yeah, but I'm
No, I
saying
said
that's
she's
dangerous
wrong.
close saying race don't matter, right?
she's
To
wrong
me,
in that.
again, there's a lot of privilege involved in that. The fact that she's racially ambiguous and probably hasn't been black her whole life. Hasn't identified as black. She don't really identify as black now.
My problem with some of this is, hey, everybody raise their kids how they want. I'm not sticking my nose in nobody's household. My problem with this is I only know Amber Rose from black spaces. So cool, now you mag it out, and now, yeah, you on your whole, I got it. But why not say it sooner?
She has no life experience to justify any of the nonsense that she says. And it's really disappointing that somebody black like Paul Pierce did not give her any pushback when it's clearly wrong, out of touch, and could be harmful to his audience. But shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting and thanks for watching. Y'all let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Also, make sure you check out the next video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and life stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.